You can forgive a lot in love, but when someone takes pieces of you without permission, it's not love they're protecting. It's control they're chasing. We were 2 days from the wedding. The guest list was finalized, the florist confirmed, the suits pressed, the cake tasted and approved. Everything was in motion, clean, quiet, smooth. Or so I thought. Her name was Celeste. 33, fiercely independent, worked in nonprofit development. She had a mind that ran fast and a laugh that made strangers turn to look. I was older, 46. Divorced once. No kids, not by choice, just life. When we met, I told her that right up front. Thought honesty mattered. She said it didn't bother her. That what she wanted was a partner, not just a gene donor. For 2 years, we built a life. Rented a craftsman bungalow together, painted the kitchen warm yellow, argued over drawer space, took trips with my old college buddies and her sorority sisters. People said we were mismatched. That I was lucky. And I was. Or at least I believed I was. Then, 2 days before the wedding, I got a call from my doctor's office. Not my primary doctor, my old clinic, the one I hadn't visited in over a year. The nurse sounded puzzled. Mr. Bishop. Just confirming, you received the results from your semen analysis. I laughed, confused. I think you've got the wrong Adam Bishop. She double-checked. Birthday. Address. All correct. No, she said, you came in 2 weeks ago. Sample provided. Referred under Dr. Lanier. That's your name on the file. I hadn't seen Dr. Lanier in over a year. Last time was for a flu shot. I didn't authorize any test, I said. And I definitely didn't drop off a sample. There was a pause. The nurse said something under her breath. Then. Well, the sample came with your name, your information, and the referral was faxed in by someone claiming to be from your primary's office. I asked for a copy of the results. They emailed them within the hour. Normal. Healthy. No concerns regarding fertility at this time. I sat at the kitchen table, hands shaking. My name. My info. A test I never knew I took. I called the clinic again. Pressed for more. Who scheduled the test? Who dropped off the sample? They said they couldn't confirm due to privacy, but the name on the referral had come from a fax number listed to someone I didn't recognize. A quick online search told me everything I needed to know. The number belonged to Celeste's father's office. He was a retired OBGYN. Suddenly, the pieces clicked. 2 weeks ago, we'd been at a family dinner. Her mother had pulled me aside. So glad you've been taking care of your health, she'd said. At your age, it's good to stay ahead of these things. At the time, I thought it was just a dig. A little passive-aggressive jab from someone who had never fully warmed to the idea of her daughter marrying a man over 40. But now I saw it for what it was. She wasn't commenting on my age. She was hinting that she already knew the results. I sat there, staring at that email, heart pounding, mind racing. And I realized something I'd never expected to feel 2 days before marrying the woman I loved. Violation. They had taken something from me. Behind my back. Without my consent. Without even telling her, I assumed, because if she had known, surely she would have said something. Wouldn't she? That's when I heard her car pull into the driveway. She walked in a minute later, holding iced coffee, humming some pop song under her breath. I watched her cross the room. And I had to ask myself, how much of this was hers? And how much of it was a family pulling the strings behind the curtain? Celeste breezed into the kitchen like it was just another Thursday. She was talking about table placements, about how her cousin Olivia might try to sneak her boyfriend into the reception last minute. She laughed, handed me the coffee she brought for me, 2 creams, no sugar, the way I liked it. And I couldn't take a sip. I was staring at her. Not with suspicion. With a kind of stunned grief. The kind that comes when you realize someone's been planning a life with you while someone else was planning one around you. "Hey," I said, setting the coffee down. She stopped mid-thought. "Yeah. Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Did you or anyone in your family give my information to a clinic? Run any kind of medical test behind my back?" Her expression shifted slowly, confusion to discomfort, then something harder to read. She blinked. "What are you talking about?" I opened the email on my phone, slid it across the table. She looked at the screen, scrolled. And then she froze. She didn't deny it right away. Didn't laugh it off or act like I was crazy. She just said, too carefully, "Where did you get this?" "That's not the question, Celeste." She looked down. Then, after a moment, "I didn't do it. I swear." "Then who did?" She exhaled. "It was probably my dad." "Probably." She looked up at me, eyes glassy. "Adam. I didn't ask him to. I never told him to go behind your back. But he did. And your mom knew. They all knew." Her hands were shaking now. "I told them it didn't matter to me," she said quickly. "That I didn't care if we had kids or not. That you were what I wanted. But they never really heard me. They kept pushing. Kept saying things like, 'What if it's too late,' and 'You don't want to waste your best years.' I thought they'd moved on." I swallowed hard. "You thought they'd moved on. But you never asked. Never told me there was even a discussion about this happening behind my back." She covered her mouth with her hand. Tears were welling now. "I didn't know they'd go that far. But they did. And they used me. My name, my records, my trust." She leaned across the table. "I didn't want this, Adam. I didn't want to hurt you." I pulled back. "You didn't want to, but you didn't stop it either." And there it was, that space between intention and impact. Where people say they meant well while standing in the wreckage of someone else's peace. We sat in silence for a minute. 2. Then I asked the question that had been sitting just beneath the surface the whole time. "Would you have told me, if the results had come back bad?" She looked at me like I'd slapped her. "I don't know," she said softly. "And that? That told me more than anything else. Because love, real love, doesn't base your worth on what you can provide. It's not conditional. Not transactional. Not dependent on what a lab says you're capable of giving. But somewhere, somehow, her love, our love, had been filtered through the lens of her family's expectations. And I never saw it coming. I stood up. Walked to the sink. Looked out the window while she sat behind me, quietly crying into her hands. "We're getting married in 2 days," I said. "I know. But I feel like I just learned something I can't unlearn." She didn't answer. And neither did I. Because the wedding was still on. But now I wasn't sure I'd be at it. That night, we went to her parents' house. It was supposed to be our final family dinner before the big day. One last gathering to toast the happy couple, laugh over childhood stories, share wine and well wishes. Celeste's mom had made her famous roast chicken. Her dad was uncorking something expensive from his collection. The table was already set when we arrived, name cards, cloth napkins, soft music in the background. Perfect. Sterile. Suffocating. Celeste was quiet the whole ride over. No makeup, just a tight braid and red-rimmed eyes. I asked her if she still wanted to go through with the dinner. She said yes. She said we had to. I knew why. She wanted to see if her family would admit what they did. They didn't. Not at first. We made it through salad and half a glass of Cabernet before I finally spoke up. I looked straight at her father. A man I once admired, sharp, steady, charming in that old-school kind of way. I got a call from a clinic today, I said, setting my fork down. They told me someone had run a fertility test using my name and medical file. Without my permission. He paused mid-cut of his steak. Raised an eyebrow, like he hadn't already rehearsed this moment in his mind. Did they? He said. Calm. Almost amused. I traced the referral number, I continued. It came from your office. He didn't flinch. Just wiped his mouth with a napkin and set it aside. Adam, he said, I was trying to protect my daughter. Celeste stiffened beside me. You don't think she can do that herself? I asked. You're 15 years older, he said plainly. It's not unreasonable to wonder if you're still viable. Viable? He nodded. You said yourself you hadn't had kids. We thought maybe there was a reason. We. I looked at her mother then. You were in on this? She didn't look at me. Just said, we love Celeste. She's got time, but not endless time. And what if the test had come back bad? I asked. Would you have told her to walk away 2 days before the wedding? Celeste's mother sighed. We would have advised her to think hard. That's all. Celeste pushed her plate away. You told me you trusted me. That you supported us. Her father didn't miss a beat. We support what's best for you. She turned to him, her voice shaking now. And you think you know what that is? I think I know how biology works, he said flatly. That was it. No remorse. No apology. Just justification. They hadn't done it because they didn't trust me. They'd done it because they believed they knew better. That they had the right to intervene. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about family. This wasn't even about love. It was about control. Control dressed up as care. Control hidden in family dinners and wedding toasts. Control with a stethoscope and a clipboard. I stood up. The whole table went still. I can forgive a lot, I said. I can forgive awkward comments. I can forgive not liking me. But I can't forgive being treated like a lab sample. Like a risk that needed screening. Celeste stood too. We're leaving. Her mother reached for her arm. Don't be dramatic, sweetheart. Celeste pulled away. This isn't drama. This is disgusting. We left without dessert. Without goodbyes. Just the sound of silverware clinking on china behind us, like nothing had just broken. But something had. And walking to the car, I knew it wasn't just the bond between me and her family. It was the part of me that once thought love could fix anything. The house was silent when we got home. Celeste went straight to the bedroom. I heard the door click shut behind her. No slamming, no yelling, just the kind of silence that doesn't beg for comfort anymore. The kind that starts to feel like surrender. I sat on the couch for a long time. Jacket still on. Phone buzzing with unread messages, my brother asking about groomsmen logistics, her cousin wondering if the vegan meal option was still locked in. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because for the first time since I proposed, I didn't know if there was going to be a wedding at all. I finally knocked on the bedroom door. No answer. I opened it gently. She was sitting cross-legged on the bed, in one of my old hoodies, her eyes rimmed red. I can't believe they did that, she said, voice hoarse. I mean, I knew they could be controlling. I knew they pushed. But this? I sat beside her. They didn't just cross a line, I said. They mapped out a future where I wasn't a person. I was a checklist item. A potential failure. She nodded, slowly. And I let it happen. You didn't know. I didn't ask. I never asked what they were doing. I let them think their way was still okay. I looked at her, and it broke something in me. Because I believed her. I believed that she didn't know. But I also saw something else, something neither of us had said aloud yet. You're not them, I said. But you come from them. And they're not going to stop, Celeste. Not with this. She looked down. I know. We were quiet for a long time. Then she said, do you still want to marry me? It should have been an easy question. A resounding yes. But I hesitated. And that silence hurt us both. It's not about loving you, I said. I do. But if I walk into this marriage knowing your family thinks they have the right to manage my body, my worth, my ability to be a father, how do we build something that doesn't crack under that? She nodded. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose myself. And there it was. The split we hadn't seen coming. The difference between us against the world, and you didn't stop them when they made me part of theirs. That night, we didn't talk more. She slept in the bed. I slept on the couch. Not because I was angry. But because I couldn't bring myself to lie beside someone who hadn't yet figured out how to stand between me and the people tearing us apart. The morning of the rehearsal dinner, the phone calls started early. Her dad. Her aunt. Even her older brother who lived out of state. All wanting to smooth things over, talk man to man, make it seem like just a misunderstanding. But it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a choice. And so was what I did next. I picked up the phone, called the venue, and told them I'd be stepping back from the ceremony. They asked if we were postponing. I said, no. Just removing the groom from the equation. I heard Celeste crying in the bedroom when I hung up. And I knew she didn't just hear the end of a phone call. She heard the beginning of something we weren't ready to say out loud. That maybe love isn't always enough. Not when it's surrounded by people who think love is a contract with clauses. The morning we were supposed to rehearse our vows, we rehearsed a statement instead. We sat at the dining table, 2 cups of coffee gone cold, the silence between us louder than the phone that kept buzzing on the counter. We were exhausted. Not from planning a wedding. From undoing one. Celeste was pale. Not sick pale, ashamed pale. The kind of color your skin turns when the people who raised you expose parts of themselves you can't defend anymore. They won't understand, she said. They don't need to, I replied. They just need to hear the truth. She nodded, slowly. Then asked, what is the truth, though? That we love each other but can't get married because my parents violated your medical privacy? No, I said. That we love each other, and that's not enough to survive a family that thinks love means ownership. She took a deep breath. I'll make the calls. I offered to help. She refused. Said this was hers to own. And it was. One by one, she called her bridesmaids, her cousins, her college roommate who'd flown in from Chicago. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't beg for sympathy. She just told the truth. The wedding's off. There's no drama, just a boundary that was crossed, and we're not pretending it didn't happen. Some people were stunned. Some whispered sympathy. A few, particularly on her side, tried to shift blame. Said things like, parents meddle, and, he should get over it. But that's the thing about trust. You don't get over someone using your name to run a fertility test without your knowledge. You grieve it. You learn from it. And sometimes, you leave because of it. When it came time to tell my side of the guest list, I kept it even simpler. The wedding's off. We're okay. We just saw something we couldn't ignore. And the funny thing? No one pressed. Because the people who really know you don't need the full story. They just listen. They just show up. Joseph, my best man, came over that night. No questions. Just beer and silence and a single comment after he sat down. I knew something was off with her dad. Guy gave me a pat on the back like I was a farm animal. I laughed for the first time in 2 days. Then, just as quickly, I let it go. Because even though I could laugh, I was still mourning. Not the loss of a woman, I still loved Celeste. But the loss of an idea. The idea that love could survive anything. The idea that being chosen by someone was enough to stand up to everyone else in their life. The next morning, Celeste left early. She was heading to a friend's cabin out of town to breathe, as she put it. She paused at the door. "I want to believe we'll find our way back," she said. I looked at her, the woman I nearly married. The woman who, for 2 years, believed in us just enough to ignore the red flags she'd been taught to call tradition. "I want to believe it too," I said. But I didn't promise. Because belief is one thing. Rebuilding trust from the ground up. That's something else entirely. There's a strange kind of quiet that follows a cancelled wedding. Not the chaos people expect, not tear-stained calls at midnight, not broken dishes or dramatic exits. Just a stillness. A kind of emotional echo. Everything's been said. The house is too clean. The suit hangs untouched in the closet, like it's waiting for a story that'll never get told. And slowly, life starts to reset. The venue refunded half our deposit. The caterer gave us store credit. I used it for a small cookout with friends a few weeks later. The honeymoon, we split. She took the travel credits. I stayed home. I spent a lot of time walking. Not anywhere special. Just around the neighborhood. Sometimes with no destination, just forward motion. One step, then the next. Processing. Thinking. And here's what I came to realize. Love, no matter how strong, can't survive unspoken boundaries. Celeste and I had something real. I won't pretend we didn't. But when someone lets others violate your dignity, and then asks you to smile through it, that love starts to rot from the inside out. Quietly. Slowly. Until all that's left is the shell of a future built on silence. I didn't hear from her for a while. A few texts here and there. Nothing heavy. Just, "Hope you're doing okay. And, I saw that movie we wanted to watch, you would have loved it." And maybe I would have. But I'd also learned that sometimes the hardest thing isn't walking away. It's not going back. 3 months later, I ran into her at a bookstore. She looked good, healthier. Lighter, maybe. We hugged. Polite. Short. "I'm sorry again," she said. Not for what they did. For not standing up when it mattered. I nodded. "I'm sorry too. For not seeing it sooner." That was it. No long goodbyes. No, maybe one days. Just two people who tried, and found out that love without protection isn't love that lasts. Eventually, I moved. New apartment, smaller place. Closer to the trails. I took up biking. Started teaching a weekend writing workshop at the library. Nothing dramatic. Just, life. On my terms again. I met someone, eventually. Not in a rush. Not as a rebound. Just two people who started talking at a dog park and didn't stop. She asked me early on, "What's your story?" And I told her the truth. Not the bitter version. The real version. The one where I thought I was building something solid, only to find out the foundation had been quietly undermined by people who thought their fear gave them permission. She didn't flinch. She just said, "You did the hard thing." And that's when I knew. The real test wasn't fertility. It was integrity. And in the end, I passed the one that mattered most. Because I didn't let someone else define my worth. I didn't let a family dictate the shape of my future. And I didn't stay quiet when my dignity was treated like a variable in someone else's plan. I walked away. Not because I stopped loving her. But because I finally started loving myself.